time is hearing what you're saying. But what's frightening to me is, what do we have, 20 in the room? That means 4 of you are hearing. Geez, this is really upsetting. Maybe 5 or 6 of you are hearing what I'm saying right at this particular moment. Now, I know that some of you say, that's not true, that couldn't be. I have excellent, effective listening. Well, Dr. Poppy has a tape that I have, a record actually, and I have a tape of the exact same thing. And it's an organization put out a booklet and a course called Effective Listening. Now, I've used this in courses that I've taught in speech communications, and I found it to be very effective. Have any of you ever used it? Good. Geez, I'm glad to have a virgin audience. I'm not. Yes, sir.
I like the Xerox effective listening.
That's it. This is it. So you have used it. Right. Well, let me just run this by for those of you that haven't. I guess we can go ahead with just one man having heard it. And what this says, in effect, I could play the whole tape for you, and it would take if you do it properly, it's about a 3-month class. But we aren't going to take 3 months on this, obviously. In fact, we're going to only take about 15 minutes. We're going to boil the whole 3 months down to just give you a sample, a taste of this. Now, some of you say, I don't need it. I don't believe it. And when I used it in my classes, I had a student, by the way, an athlete, a basketball player, about 6'10", very remarkable basketball player, very talented. He played for the University of Utah later. But in the interim, he was in my speech class, and I really felt sorry for the guy. I'd play these tapes, and he would close his eyes and listen, and then we would ask him to regurgitate what he'd heard, and he could not do it. He could not effectively, he couldn't listen worth a damn. And pretty soon, he got to the point, because it was so awkward, and I went out of my way not to embarrass the guy about this. It was so awkward for him that he put his head down because he felt that maybe the girls were distracting him in the class, or there was something happening, you know, some damn thing was blocking his mind off. Well, when he got through with the class, his effective listening was from 0, really, and being able to regurgitate what he'd heard back up to about 50%. Now, they say they can take it up to 75 or 80% if you take the whole class. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a couple of tryouts here and just see how you folks listen. I'm not going to give you this.
In a few minutes, you'll be taking a course to help you augment your listening skills. The importance of this training is highlighted in a speech recently given by Dr. Ralph G. Nichols.
I'll just give you the first part of this, and then we'll come back with some of the actual examples.
Who heads up a communications program at the University of Minnesota, is nationally known for his many articles and lectures on communications problems. In 1951-52, he served as president of the National Society for the Study of Communication, an organization chartered to make continuing and systematic study of communication as a means to building more harmonious relations within groups and among individuals. He has also served on the editorial boards of 2 national...
I'm going to move that up a little bit. That's just a lot of smoke as far as I'm concerned. Let me see if I can...
Teaching him how to read from the first day the first public schoolhouse opened its doors. A few educators read the study, worried a little, did nothing very important about it. Shortly after that, however, a very important figure in the television industry, Richard Hubble, completed a year of research, published a new book, and in it declared without equivocation that 98% of all that a man learns in his lifetime, he learns through his eyes or through his ears. Hubble's book threw a spotlight upon a long-neglected organ you and I own, our ears. And it threw into focus one of the most important researches of this period. This one, done by Paul Rankin at Ohio State University. Rankin was determined to find out what proportion of our waking day we spend in communication. He enlisted the help of 65 white-collar folk, much like you and me, with each person promising to keep careful log on all his conscious, waking, daytime activities at 15-minute intervals for 2 months on end. Rankin collected all these data, tabulated them, stared at the results, could not believe his own eyes, repeated the study, got the same statistics, and then published them. Immediately they were republished in a score of professional journals. Here's what he found. 70% of our conscious waking day is spent in communication. 7 out of every 10 minutes that you and I are conscious, alive, and awake, we're communicating in one of its forms. Rankin broke it down among its 4 component parts and found that we spend 9% of our communication time in writing, 16% in reading, 30% in speaking, and 45% in listening.
Citing several...
I'm going to go on now into the actual tapes themselves, and I'm going to ask you folks to listen carefully, and I'm going to ask you to respond. The way it works is you'll hear a statement, then you'll hear a beat tone, and then you tell me exactly what the major points were said. Now, at the very beginning of this tape, the sentences are only, I mean, they're just one sentence long. But gradually, as the tape goes through, and it takes 3 months to get to the end of this thing, and you get to the final exams, the paragraphs, the pages that the guy rattles off are unbelievable. And then if you really have done the course, you should have been able to comprehend that all the way up to the end of it. And it's a very effective technique. But let's just start at the very beginning here with some fairly easy ones to give you a taste for what they're doing.
To explain, when you hear the tone, tear off the right half of page 5. Write your answer on page 6.
Okay, so that was the last one.
Throughout this course, you should try to keep your summaries as concise as possible. The exact wording is not...
Periodically, as they go through, they give you hints on how to organize yourself and your thinking and your listening when you hear something.
Unimportant. Equivalent answers are always acceptable. Number 5.
Where I'm living now, I need no rug. So I would automatically say, I'm sorry, but I have no need for it. And in fact, I believe it's too expensive.
What reasons did the speaker give for not acquiring a rug? Give your answer orally.
All right, now I'm not going to... let me tell you how I got into this. We had a lady come to our campus when I was at Moorpark College, and she gave us a tape, and it was all the president and several of the deans and a couple of the faculty. And it was a man with a Brooklyn accent. And, geez, the guy rattled on, and it didn't really sound like he knew what he was talking about as he blah, 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 blah. But it turned out he had a PhD in the subject matter. But because of that Brooklyn accent, a lot of people tended in that room, and she said, and it's true, to turn him off. Now, the same thing is true with women sometimes talking, that men, in all men audiences, tend to turn off the woman's voice because it's a woman speaking. Now that plays right into the feminist hands when I make those statements, but it's really true that is what happens. Now they've had Southern accents, and the feeling is, geez, those Southerners don't know what they're talking about. And they've had foreign accents, and those guys don't know what. So people tend to turn off things that they are a little uncomfortable with. They, you put up your filters. You don't hear it exactly the way it is. So you heard that tape. Now I've added a little static of my own. I've put a filter into your heads right now because I've put a time lapse between what you heard and when you're going to respond now. Is there anybody that has the answer to that question?
Need and expense.
Need and expense.
Right.
All right, let's just see how it worked out.
Your answer should include no need for it and too expensive. In many of the statements that follow,
You cut right through the baloney, you see, and you got right to the meat. And I was the baloney, and that was the meat. That's good.
the speaker may be tired, or angry, or soft-spoken, or emotional, or he may speak normally. In any case, you should try to pierce through the tone and get at the meaning. Number 6.
Don't let the emotion get you when the man's talking.
There must be something about germ warfare which goes against the minds and hearts of scientists everywhere in the world. Very few scientists are even willing to work on these projects.
What evidence does the speaker give for feeling that germ warfare goes against the minds and hearts of scientists everywhere? Write your answer on page 8.
Let's get an answer from the other end of the room there. I'm afraid this man's got all the answers. He's got me worried now. Yes. Anybody have an answer down there? Yes. Pardon me?
No, he didn't give any reason.
Anybody else?
Scientists won't work on it. Project.
Science won't work on it. Let's see. Pardon me?
It was undocumented.
Undocumented? Oh, well, I've got the
Number
answer
7.
Right here. Wait a minute. By the way, this book is invaluable. You can be talking and still survive with this book.